What's up, everybody? Troy Cartwright here. Welcome back to 10-Year Town. Before we get started, I wanted to give you today's stat of the week, powered by Chartmetric. Today's stat is 128,000, which is the total number of times the song Knowing You by Kenny Chesney has been spun on the radio. That is a big number. And today, we're going to hear from the writer behind that song and learn about the impact that this number one hit has made on his career. If you want to uncover insights like this for yourself, head to chartmetric.com. Now, back to the show. Thanks. Today's guest is songwriter Adam James. You know Adam from songs like Knowing You, recorded by Kenny Chesney, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, recorded by Luke Combs, and his 4 cuts on the last Cody Johnson record. I really enjoyed this conversation with Adam. We get into his journey through Nashville, what it was like getting his first number one song, where he finds his inspiration, and many other stops along the way. You're going to love this episode. So without further ado, here he is, Adam James. Well, anyway, I always start this thing off, same question. How long you been in town?
September 2009.
Okay, what is it? Like, I can't even do math. It's like almost 14 years.
Go almost 16, right?
Yeah, you're right.
In 8 months, it'll be 16 years. So,
dang.
Yep. And just to pop off the pod, in the name of the pod, my first number one came almost to the day 10 years after I moved. Or 10 years after I got my publishing deal.
No way.
Got my publishing deal like January of 2011, and my first one. And first number one, I think it went like December of 2021.
All right. So you're year 7. How you feeling at year 7? Are you wondering?
I am doing a lot of talking other people off the cliff.
Okay.
Like I am like supremely confident. I'm very like, focused on just like getting better all the time and trying to, and just knowing how it works really, like, cause I've been surrounded by so many folks that have been mentors and so many folks that have been through the ringer of writing songs and having success. I mean, Jeffrey Steele was my publisher for like 5 years and,
Gotcha.
He had so much success, but people don't see the years before that, right? So he had, all the years that he was in California and all the years that he had moved to Nashville and been in a band that got really close and had it like a hit, but immediately got kind of washed away. So he had to dig back in. So I've just got all these people like telling me, man, you just like stick to your guns, keep doing exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen. And it was hard. So it was basically me just talking like my parents off the ledge, some of my friends back and family back home. It's like, you send them a song and they're like, well, if Blake Shelton don't cut this, like I'm going to drive down there. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just that's not how it works. And
totally.
And it's also not just one song either, right? It's like, maybe it was back in the day where you could have like one giant hit and just live the rest of your life, like,
right.
In the luxe lifestyle. But this time or this, season that we're in music, you need to have about 10 of them, and then next year have 10 more. So,
right.
That's just always been my focus. And for whatever reason, maybe just some like redneck wisdom that I stumbled upon was just to show up every day and treat every day the same. And, I got very zen about that.
You were okay.
7 years in, I was just kind of like, this is happening. I know this is going to happen.
Dang.
So.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm
a psychopath like that.
Well, it sounds like you were just, whether you actually were or you convinced yourself you were just comfortable with the ride. And I think that's one of the hardest times is like in the middle.
Yeah.
I still really
totally
feel like that's where I'm at. And like there are for sure days where I'm waking up like, dude, what is going on?
The middle, dude. It just takes some time.
The
little girl, you're in the middle of the ride.
Yeah,
everything will be all right. Everything will.
When you're like dealing with that, the first few years, it's so exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then
and just like being here for me, moving here end of 2009, like I'm finally in a town where everyone thinks what I think, and everyone wants the thing I want. And you go from like being the black sheep in a small town where you tell people that you want to be a songwriter or a singer or whatever, and everyone kind of looks at you like, okay, but what do you really want to do? And then you move to Nashville, and it's like you're surrounded by the Isle. You're like, you are a misfit toy in the Isle of Misfit Toys, and it's a beautiful thing. So that was really invigorating.
Yeah.
That was a whole first year for me, was just like, man, I cannot believe that,
dude,
that I'm going to a bar. It's a Tuesday night, and there's a songwriter round, and there's going to be 50 people there that like all write songs. I'm like, this is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. These are the people that are into this thing that I thought only I was into.
Right.
But you come here and yeah, dude.
But you're right. Everywhere. You're right about the middle part too, man. Cause like what year did we meet? Probably like 2015 or so, 14. No, it would have been later than that.
I moved here in 16.
Okay.
I don't even remember the first time we met. I remember the first time I feel like we really hung out. Did you go to Colorado one year?
Yeah, so that would have been 2019 probably.
Yeah, and then at some point we went to Florida at one point.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't really remember when that was.
Yep.
Like
that
2018 maybe?
That was for the plaid flag thing.
That's right.
So yeah, it was all around that time, but that I would definitely call it like the middle for me, even though I'd been in a deal for 7 or 8 years at that point. Because you move around and you find new gangs of people and new little cubby holes of creators that you sneak into and start like catching a vibe with, and then you never know where that's going to lead. So that is an exciting time, but it also starts feeling monotonous when you've been doing something for quite a while now. Yeah, and you haven't had that big heater. Whereas not a lot of people, but I'm seeing it more and more so now, where like people will get signed and then like in the next year, like in their first deal, they have hits. Yeah. And I'm like, that is such a foreign concept to me, like especially moving to Nashville when I did, because I didn't see that at all. Yeah. No one in their first deal like got hits. It was almost like a known thing that you were like, hey, we're signing you, we're going to help you out to get you to the next thing. And then maybe on the next thing you can get it, or maybe not, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm not jealous or envious of that. It's actually freaking amazing. And I'm like, man, that is so badass that you were able to do that, because I certainly was not. But I just, I took the stairs. I'm still taking the stairs, I feel like. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know. That's my favorite thing about this podcast is everybody's journey is so different, and everybody's journey looks different. Yeah. Takes various amounts of time, whatever. But it's been a minute since like I've interviewed somebody that's like, like a songwriter and not like a songwriter, artist or doing some other configuration, you know. That's really true, man. I've explained that. I've had to explain that a few different times lately, where I'm like, I'm kind of like an old school. I'm like, I'm 38. I'm not like, 68, but like, I feel like I am 68 compared, because I don't do track. Right. Like I'm not an artist. There's so many ways to get into a publishing deal at this point. And those are usually the ones that people want first now. Right. Right. So it's like, oh, you're not an artist? No, thank you. You're not a producer? No, thank you. I'm kind of over here. I'm like, who do you think writes the song? You know what I mean? Well, so were you tempted along the way to like, got a lot of buddies that are like, I'm going to just do tracks now, or I'm going to become an artist because I'm not getting in the rooms that my friends are getting into. Were you ever tempted to like, hit the tracks or whatever? No, just like mainly because like so many of my friends are so freaking good at that. Yeah. That, like Mikey Reeves is like my best friend, and he's just like such a wizard. Oh, dude, he's Matt Dragstrom is such a wizard. I could, go on and on, but like those were the guys I was hanging out with like early on. Yeah. And just watching them do that kind of thing, I'm like, I think I should probably go find some titles. Like, this is where my skill set is best utilized. Yeah. And it's just, it's just the whole theory of like, spreading yourself all around.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none, I guess you would say. It's
Yeah.
like I would find myself probably getting worse at the thing I'm best at to try to get okay at the thing that they're the best at. And it just didn't seem like the thing to do. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do I regret it? Yes.
Would
I have 12 number ones if I was a track guy? Yes.
Maybe.
But I'm gonna lean this chair back as my therapy couch and say that I'm fine and just being a lyricist.
Yeah. Well, how do you like? I don't know. I mean, I had written down a few different things I wanted to ask you about, but like I feel like you've talked about your Kenny hit several times, so I don't want to like.
All right, that's cool.
Beat a dead horse, but like, what do you? I guess with that song, with Knowing You, and then just in general, like, where do you find your, I don't know, inspiration? Like, what does that look like for you?
For me, it's really predicated on a title or a thought that I can see multiple ways of landing it.
Okay.
Which is also kind of an old school kind of thing that has been coming back. I think Hardy's done he's been a huge flag waving artist and songwriter for that like title flip. You know what I mean? Like it kind of went away, and then he started doing a little bit.
Are you talking about like the country?
Like, the country spin.
The country spin.
Yeah, the classic country spin. It's the best. It is the best, and it's the thing that like drew me to the genre to begin with. So anyways, that whole thing, like and we can all write other songs. Like we can all write any type of song at this point after doing it 1,000 times. But the thing that gets me really excited to write a song, and the way that songs write themselves,
right,
is when you find that idea that just you're like, man, has that been done? Has someone done that?
Yeah. And
then you pull your phone out and you check YouTube. You check. I do this. I mean, I don't know if everybody does, but as soon as I find one of those, I'm like, oh, that has to have been done. Because I'm not really like I'm not trying to like do it again.
Yeah.
If someone does it, and that's
for sure.
Maybe that's like an ego thing or a pride thing or just being scared of getting sued. But like, I just want to I want to find those ideas that everyone's like, man, how did I not think of that?
Yeah.
To me, that's like songwriting at its core, and that's great songwriting at its core is finding those ways to say things that everybody has heard and everybody has said multiple times, but you've said it differently. So, just finding that title or that thought that you can kind of flip around and make mean more than maybe it looks like on the surface.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Knowing You, like just one of those figures of speech that everyone uses every day, and it's like
totally.
Knowing you, you're probably out at a bar right now doing this kind of thing, and and then making it kind of that heartfelt ending of
right,
we're not together anymore, but I do it all over because it was good knowing you. It's like the way it kind of completely shifts made me excited to write it. So just finding stuff like that, it's really hard. It doesn't happen every week or month even,
Yeah.
And it has been fun though, because people start bringing those to you now, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
As far as your, output goes.
Right.
So, it's been good, but that's the thing that gets me the most excited, man. It's just finding those things. And what's really cool is like, I've kind of locked in a little bit with an artist, in Cody Johnson that like resonates with those.
Yeah.
Cause like you always hear, and I've always heard the whole time I've been in Nashville, like it's a little too smart. That's a little smart. That's a little over the heads. That's a little this or that. It's a little clever. And then like you look at Cody's record and it's like, I mean, I could just like,
he's got,
look at the flips, right? Like
they're all over. It's amazing.
He's got, I know for a fact, like one of them, cause I wrote, the first one was Double Down. And then they're like Whiskey Bent is another one that I wrote that does that thing. Dirt Cheap kind of does it. It's kind of like the comma title, right?
Yeah.
Made in the USA is one that I wrote as well, and it does that whole thing where it's like you kind of back into the title with saying it a different way, like We Got It Made.
Yeah.
So anyways, like, it took forever, but finally finding an artist that hears that type of song and says like, man, that's special. I want that thing, as opposed to just like, just give me one about, back roads and beers. And it's like, I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
So I found the thing that I know how to do, and it's a beautiful thing that find an artist that likes it as well.
Yeah. No, but I think that's really inspiring. It's like, I think one of the things that a lot of like straight songwriters have, that's like, seems like a weird way to say it, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like songwriters have trouble is like defining their thing, what their thing is, so that people like, okay, I'm looking for this type of song.
Yes.
You know, I think that can be really hard.
Yes.
When you're not a track guy, not an artist, is people are like, well, why should we have this guy in the room versus this other guy that's had 45 hits, you know, and that's that. But I feel like you've always kind of had that's kind of always been your thing.
Yeah.
But it maybe just took a little bit of time for people to kind of catch on.
People catch on, but also like, I think everyone's a little bit guilty of thinking like they're ready now. When, at the first deal you're like, here we go.
Yeah.
Like, watch this.
Yeah.
And then the town kind of humbles you really quickly. And I'll go back and listen to stuff from like, 10 years ago or 5 years ago even. And the stuff that I was like, man, these people are crazy. Like, do they not know how good this is? And I'll listen to it now and I'm like, that's not that good.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's part of people buying into what you are doing, but it's also at the same time you continuing to get better and better at it, right? And refining it. And I feel like I've refined it to a point where it's finally colliding,
right?
You know what I mean? So
that's amazing.
So yeah, it's that's what I love to do, man. It's just so fun to just go in every day and search for that kind of thing too,
Yeah, I can tell it really lights you up,
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's
contagious.
It's my favorite thing to do. It also is depressing when you don't get it, and then you go home and you're just like, I walk in the door.
Yeah,
honey, I'm home. I had a hard day. I couldn't flip a title. It's like it's just mentally taxing when you're trying to find something and you don't find it, and you're sitting there looking at each other, and it's like, I don't know, man. But
it's the worst.
It's like fishing, it's like you don't catch everything every time.
No.
But you show up.
Well, and I think too, it's like you're not going to write an 11 out of 10 every day.
Yes.
And I try and remember that. You got to keep you're going to have the days where you don't get anything, or you get something really mediocre.
Right.
Cuz then it helps you understand like what the thing is, but it can be frustrating, especially when you're first starting out. You got this big with these big songwriters, and then something that's just whatever. Then you're trying to convince yourself it's good, or something, and it's like when it's good.
When it's good, and dude, that's the worst. Is when you get a write on the books that you're so excited about,
you blow it, or it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, I mean, maybe you do blow it, but like. Even not even blowing it as much as just like, it's just not everything that you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And whether that's like you not having the right idea or like you having the right idea and them not buying into it in the way that you would do it. And that, I feel like that happens a lot, man. And there's a lot of anxiety in a lot of like younger rooms that I'm in now where like, if you don't have this idea that everyone's gung ho about in the first like 15 or 20 minutes, everyone's kind of like, what are we doing? And I'm like, man, like, just hang out, bro. Eat some chips. Like, let's see what happens. Like, it could be an hour from now, and someone says something that's genius, and when we find a better song than we would have had like to jump. So that's a real thing though. I struggle. I still struggle with that. You just want it to be. You want to be like the name brand writer, the name brand artist, the name brand product that people go and get, and they know exactly what they're going to get. And songwriting is so difficult to deliver on that every single day. Dang. It's like,
that's so true, dude.
Like Michael Jordan had multiple games where he had 8 points and 2 assists and 1 steal. And it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But he's just as liable to come out the next day and go 40 and 15 and 10. It's like, there he is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So having that mindset has helped me a lot. I'm a big sports guy, and there's a lot of metaphors with that for me. So just try to keep keep my mind in it and have fun. Like I kind of started this whole thing like Fort Worth Ferguson just to like make music fun.
Yeah.
Again, you know what I mean? And it totally kind of saved my like creative life, because when I had my first publishing deal, it was over in like 2 years. Our company got sold. Everybody got let go. And I was just kind of like, I was working at a moving company for $10 an hour with a bunch of convicts in Reed Isbell. Literally, that's not an exaggeration. Reed and I were the only people there that hadn't been in prison the previous year. But anyways, you know, so I'd kind of like, I'd done it. I'd gotten signed to this great company, and I was like, here we go. This is it. Like, man, look how easy this was. And then the company gets sold, you get dropped, you try to find another deal basically from square one, you know? So I started working there, and I also worked at a Mexican restaurant, and I was just taking myself so seriously, man. It was one of those situations where I didn't have the crayon in my Crayola box to like for fun songs.
Yeah.
I thought every song needed to be like
Song of the Year.
Whiskey Lullaby. Yes, Whiskey Lullaby. If it wasn't Whiskey Lullaby, or if it wasn't like The House That Built Me, or if it wasn't this, like you might not as well not even write it. And I was like, that's crazy. So you know, that was also coinciding with the time in country music that was Dirt Road Anthem and Cruise and, you know, Luke Bryan. And it was like all of these fun songs were killing at the moment. And I just didn't know how to do any of that at all. So I just kind of had to, I stumbled upon this like kind of alter ego thing where I bought this hat and started writing songs with Mikey, and it was really fun, and it was funny, but it was also like, this is how you write a party song. Oh my gosh. Like,
it's like, have fun.
It's like someone, you know, it's like I was reading the book upside down and someone came over to me and they're like, here you go, buddy. And I was like, you know, like Technicolor.
I love that.
So that just kind of made it all make sense for me. And I still do it because it's, you know, you get in ruts where you came off a month where you felt like every song that you wrote was like competitive. And maybe some got held or some got cut or whatever. And you're like, hell yeah, dude. And then you hit next month and it's just like, you have no good ideas. Nothing anyone is saying to you in a write sounds compelling. And it's just like, man, what am I doing? Like, is this it? Like, did I write them all? You know? And then you find like I find a funny idea or a parody that I can do, and I do it, and it just completely like makes me excited about writing again. Like, even if I make $0 off of that whole endeavor, it's such a lifesaver for me, creatively speaking.
Well, it's just like another, I don't know, it's another outlet. I think there's something to that. Kind of having multiple, I guess what you would call them like creative release points. It's how I try and think of it, because it can get so frustrating, you know, if you're just doing this one thing and it's not working, or maybe it is working, but you're just too impatient to see that it's working. You know, I heard somebody say like the muse likes to find you working. And that's great. I thought about that from like the standpoint of, and they were even talking about it. I forget who said it. It was some songwriter podcast I was listening to, but it's like just having multiple things going, whether that's multiple songs, maybe you're writing a song by yourself and you got like a crappy demo you're trying to make. And then I don't know, even for me, like doing this podcast, it's like it's just kind of been rewarding because I've had no expectations for it. It's just like been fun, you know? And then it's like, oh,
what a concept.
So the thing that I'm doing, that I'm having fun doing is working.
I can't believe it.
It's like not rocket science, but it is somehow very surprising. So I totally get that. Have you, with the Fort Worth Ferguson stuff, like at one point you got like covered in like, was it like a German newspaper or something? Oh yeah.
Matt Dragstrom asked me to play his 10 Pan South round a few years ago. And
you did it as Fort Worth.
Ferguson? He asked Fort Worth to play. And so I show up and it was Jordan Minton, Matt Dragstrom, Maddie and Tay and Fort Worth. And So I show up and like immediately I'm like backstage and I immediately introduce myself to Maddie and Tay. I'm like, this is a parody. Like, don't get mad at me.
Okay.
You know what
okay.
I mean?
So
You
didn't walk in
They
there.
had Girl in a Country Song, and all I'm going to do is come up in here and like play the bro anthem. So anyways, I wanted to set the record straight first, but yeah, so there was this journalist there. Where was he from Austria?
Yeah. And he thought it was real.
Well, no, I think he was into it because I'd have to find it. And I had to Google translate it, but it was basically saying like country music Borat is what the caption was. It had my picture, and I was like, that's literally what it is. I'm like, that's so cool. So yeah, maybe I'll be headlining in Austria at some point.
There you go.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I saw you did like a guest editor thing. Was that for American Songwriter magazine?
Songwriter, yes.
I really liked what you wrote. I was like squinting.
Yeah, I know.
Scrolling through.
I know.
Pinching the Instagram photo. Yeah. But you said something about like songwriting. I'm butchering your words. I'm so sorry.
It's good.
Songwriting is like the connection between like the head, the heart, and like was it like the narrator. I forget. Yeah, you phrased it much more beautifully.
It was like my shot at being a college professor. So if Belmont's watching or Vanderbilt, like I'm totally down to fulfill a salary position. If y'all have health insurance, that'd be sick. But yeah, I was right. I did like an editorial, and it was called The Head, the Heart, and the Middle Part.
That's right.
And it was basically how I go about putting a song together and talking about, I have to, it has to kind of come into my brain as something worth, or something that fires me up, right? Like we talked about earlier about like the title or the flip or just the thing that makes it special.
Yeah.
Like makes it, whether it's clever, whether it's deep, whether it's funny, whether it's poignant, all of those things. That's the head. Like, and then immediately after that, like you have to stop like being brainy about it, right? And being like overthinky about it, and then immediately start sending it here to the heart, because like the heart, the only way someone's going to resonate it with it is if it's like if it's true, and if it's like an actual emotion, because I've written a lot of songs, and I started out writing a lot of songs only from up here, and there wasn't a lot of connection here, and like this is the craft right here, and like this is the real shit, right? It's like here. So basically in that article I was just saying like I get my ideas and I find them special, and then I immediately send them to like a place of, how do I put meat on this? How do I put like skin and bones to this? Because it's that's where people are going to connect with it, right? Yeah. But then just those two things, you essentially have a poem, right? Like and then you have to find that melody, you have to find that phrasing, you have to find that the middle part being your voice, and just if you can have a great idea with no heart and no melody or no emotion behind your vocal, and it's not going to connect. And you can have a great meaningful song that doesn't have a lot of thought behind it, that kind of sounds just like a bunch of jargon like written down. Yeah. But when they all line up, like I think that's where like you get a great song. I think that's where it comes from. But those all three have to be kind of in harmony together.
Yeah, it's really wise. It's a kind of neat packaged way to like say it, but it's true, because how many times have you written a song that's like sounds like a hit? Yes. But then it's not. Yes. And the reason behind that is usually, well, okay, it's probably just not saying anything. Yes. Worth, Yes. And even those songs that we like, you think are like vapid hits, there's always something to them,
There is something to them.
That's
and
like
or the melody, the melody might just be so good.
Like a lot of that FGL stuff, it's like, it's the melodies are unbelievable. Yep.
And that's them, like I said, you can get by with all, like you can get by you could probably have a hit in some way.
If one of them is maxed all the way.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But like the sweet spot, man, is when they all kind of line up. Like, I mean, there's thousands of examples, but like, I Can't Make You Love Me If You Don't. Like, there's so much like brilliant thought involved in that song.
Yeah.
But there's also so raw emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And then the melody is just like, it's like all of it, right? It just all converges to be one of the greatest songs of all time. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's my pitch for Belmont and Van Vandy. If you want to offer me or Berkeley, I'm willing to travel.
Yeah.
Like I said, health insurance is a must. So.
Right. Yeah. When I was up at Berkeley, we had some traveling teachers. They were flying in.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Catch a Red Sox game.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I've been trying to figure that out. I'm like, you guys aren't even calling me to ask for money yet?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, they can't find me. But that's all right.
That's all right.
I can't wait to.
I'm not
back.
I'm not trying to retire, but I also
trying to have health insurance.
I'm trying to have health insurance.
Yeah, it's the plight of the songwriter, man. It's the part nobody talks about. It's like
Bizarre.
It is really hard. There's a lot of like weird privilege in like getting to be a songwriter because, you know, feels like we almost all have help some strange way, whether that's just like a partner with like a more steady job that kind of buys you the time you need to do the thing. Right.
And don't get it twisted. It's the sickest job in the world. Like, it's really awesome.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, you know, my mom will call me and I'll be talking to her and she's like, how was work today? I'm like, I don't work, Mom. Like, I don't. Like, I go and hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
For like 5 to 6 hours. Yeah. And then I go home. Like,
it's pretty wild.
What job do you have where you, like, that's it? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It's amazing. It's just, you know, I've been saying this tagline for a while, but I'm going to say it here. But I've done it for a living for a while, but I'd love to do it for a killing at some point. And that's really true. Put that on my headstone.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
One of these days.
When you had your number one with Kenny, with Knowing You, like, did you feel like that like changed the rooms you were getting into, or like pretty immediately, or was it?
I think so.
Was it slower?
I was already like in some really good rooms. Obviously, to write that song, I mean, Brett James is one of the goats, and just to be in that room alone was a big one. So I definitely think that, you know, there's always that buzz of like, let's get that combo back, but also like, hey, this guy wrote this, and, you know, maybe there's a couple other things that are out too, and it all helps. But, you know, at the end of the day, man, it's like, it's really rare that I went in one of my first times writing with a star writer, and you write a hit with them.
Totally.
Like, people don't understand that most of the time your biggest songs are going to come with your homies, like your buddies. And it's just, it's the waiting is the hardest part as far as your friend group rising through the ranks and eventually becoming, you know,
well, and sometimes it gets
the group, right?
Sometimes it gets really trippy because, you know, you'll have somebody that was with you, and then like they have some insane year, and you look up and they're like, now they're in the top tier, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Am I ever gonna get there? And like, you know, sometimes you have to wait a really long time just to. I think Kelly Archer, when she was on here, was talking about like
Sweet Kelly.
Somebody, I think it was maybe Jody Williams, was like, just like the people you started with have had some success, but like, don't worry about that. Just kind of like look around, see who's with you here, focus on those relationships. And then that was kind of how she ended up having that success. I know that's hard to do.
It's the hardest,
you know,
it's the hardest thing to do because you want that, like, you want it right now. And, you know, just seeing people like through the years, like Shane and Josh and Brandy, like they weren't really popping off in 2009 yet. You know what I mean? And they started to
me, like they've just always been,
there's always been a thing. I know exactly. But there's a lot of truth in that. And, you know, they started out where like no one would pick up the phone, or no one would, or pick up their call. I mean, or no one would answer their email back. And the next thing you know, they're all winning Songwriter of the Year. And then, you know, I mean, there's so many examples to this, but like, just those little pockets of people that just do this. Right. So like I said, I mean, I think it's rare that did happen, because you see people on your books and it's like, you see Brett James, you're like, you see Craig Wiseman, or you see Ashley, or you see all these people, you're like, oh, if we do it,
yeah,
there's a really good percent chance that this is going to get cut and be a hit. But like, you know, they all had to do the same thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
At one point, they had to continue to write. Like Brett was, you know, back in med school.
Yeah.
And
it's a crazy
Troy Burgess
story.
was like, man, we got to write, like keep writing. And then next thing you know, they've got a bunch of songs cut, and it's like, you know, it's just being that patient, you know, to allow that to happen, to stay consistent, and to allow that to happen with your friend group. I think is really important. So,
it's good advice.
You know, here I am, just trying to get my buddies, trying to get on some hits with my buddies.
That's right. Is there anything you're excited about right now?
Yeah, I'm excited about a lot. There's four of my songs are on Cody's record that I'm super proud of. That feels like a career milestone.
Yeah.
There's a song with Dirks that's coming out soon that I'm super excited about.
What's like keeping you,
honestly, can I say the thing I'm the most excited about?
Please.
My son's baseball league in the spring. I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm like the world's biggest baseball fan, and he has caught the bug, and it's like, it's so fun to watch. So like, it's just as far as things outside of music, like fueling your positivity and your like general outlook on life. Like that's been such a fun thing, because it's like just the time, you know, going to practice and going to games and like watching how jacked he is about it. Like I'm probably not like as excited about anything that I am about that. So like,
well, that's what I was going to ask you is like, you know, what's inspiring you right now in terms of, is there something, an artist or something that you're, you know, that's just, I don't know, lighting a fire under you, but it sounds like it's just real life, which is the sickest inspiration of all.
Totally. And I mean, I keep my, dude, I grind super hard, and I never like go on vacation, and it's never like a thing where I don't want to. It just doesn't end up like happening.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'll go to a gig somewhere, and then it'll turn into like a 3 or 4 day trip for my wife and I. But
yeah,
she always gets mad about that. She's like, we only take trips when it's a work thing for you. I'm like, I know, we're not flying to Cabo like anytime soon unless we get like 3 hits. So I'll let you know when that happens. But yeah, it's just that general, like this is such a sweet spot, man. Just as far as like being a dad, like my son's 7 and my daughter's 4, and it's like it's literally the most storybook time right now. Like Christmas was just
magical,
mind blowing, and beautiful, and it's just like, you know, trying to just be as present as I can, but also keep the pedal down in work. You know, I don't know. I'm just trying to walk that line, but yeah, I'm really inspired by a lot of my friends right now. I'm inspired by being a dad. I'm inspired by just like art in general. I mean, I think it's one of the most human things that we can do is to create art. You know what I mean? Whether that's writing songs or whether that's painting or whatever. And I know the AI stuff is coming on strong, and I just feel like art is kind of the sacred human expression, and I'm not really scared of it. Tell the robots that I'm not scared of you. But anyways, I saw this meme the other day. It's like, I need AI to do my dishes and my laundry so I can make more art. I don't need AI to make my art so I can do more laundry and dishes. It's like, I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I think like that to everything going on, I feel like there's like a slow awareness happening of like, oh, maybe being on your phone 17 hours a day is like bad for you. Yeah. The antidote to all of that, to me, is art.
Yes.
And I know that my mood is insanely better when I keep my phone somewhere else, when I'm on it less. And the most depressed I am is when I'm not making something.
Yes. Oh man.
And so like whether
Preach.
that's writing a song or like drawing a crappy stick figure, you know, like I just love, it's fun, dude.
Yes.
It's super fun.
Yes. I guess this would be a good time to like tell people to put their phones down.
They can listen
if they
just
see
with
this.
their-
Yeah. If you see this on Instagram, this is your sign. It's like when the Nintendo Wii was like, "Hey,
take a
you've
break."
been playing for a while. Why don't you go take a break?" This
Yeah.
is your time.
Yeah. This is it. Put the phone down,
Put
guys.
the phone down. Go outside. And I'm guilty. I'm guilty as hell of that.
Dude, I mean,
My wife and I are like pretty. I've yet to do like a cleanse of any sort as far as like socials go, like ever.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What if we do that?" And I'm like, "Okay, what's the shortest month? February. Let's do it." So I think we're gonna try it. Well, I'll let you know how it goes.
yeah. I think it's just like for me, it's more of like an awareness.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe if you were drinking like 10 beers a day, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should have 2.
Yeah.
And then I could start there.
Right.
You know.
I'm sober now.
Really?
Yeah.
Congrats.
Like 3 months.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So
dude.
that's pretty cool. I think it's gonna be. I don't know, man.
Did you just do it on a whim?
I just did it on a whim,
Yeah.
and it was just like, I don't know. It's like the longer you're away from it, the more you realize that you don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And also, just getting up early is so easy.
Sure, you feel just way better a lot.
Yeah,
of
I
the
mean,
time.
you get, like, you know, I didn't drink until I was 21, but since I've been 21, I don't know that I've like ever really
stopped.
gone a more than a few days of being like, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was like, let's try this. It's definitely a hot thing to do right now. So I feel trendy. But,
You're going to start doing a cold plunge later.
I would love to start doing that. I just can't. I mean, if the cold plunge is like 65, yes. Like it's like a warm pool. No, I don't know. I just, you know, you go through the phases of like going to Red Door every single day and
Totally.
or Losers or wherever it is, and or Santa's. I was a karaoke legend at Santa's, and anyways, not that you can't go and still do that kind of stuff, but
absolutely,
it's just part of like maybe like a little bit of a graduation into thinking long term and just like, is this actually doing me any good?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is no. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just a thing.
Well, congrats.
Just a thing I wanted to say, and just to hold myself accountable.
Yeah. Well, we won't circle back, but we can. You know, if you want me to, I'll set a reminder on my phone too.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
hit you up in like 6 months.
For sure.
Well, last question before we get out of here. If you could go back in time, give younger you, just get started on your journey, a little piece of advice.
Like when I first moved here, or even before that.
Whenever. What would you say?
Man, just to be a great friend to everyone, I think is the most important thing. I think to be available to everyone, giving everyone the proper amount of respect when it comes to their time is really important. And I don't know if that's something that maybe I've done the entire time, but the more that I become like an elder statesman, I kind of see that being an issue, and I'm like, man, that was totally me.
What do you mean? Just like,
I think just like dedicating everything you have to the session that you're in, like not trying to be elsewhere or end it early, or like, you know,
scrolling Instagram.
30 minutes in, it's like, you know, and it's like, and I'm guilty of that too, but I think that was a big thing for me. Like early on was just not knowing how to collaborate, first of all, because you move here and I'd only written songs by myself. And then you like, I guess that would be a better thing to tell myself, would to be just co-write as much as you can. Cause I didn't really until like three or 4 years in. Like I got my first deal by just 100%ers. Like I kind of came in with like a dozen 100%ers. And that's great. But like, man, obviously the trick here is to collab. Right. So that was almost something that I had to like learn on the fly.
Yeah.
It felt like it took like years to actually become like a good collaborator.
Totally.
But also to buy a laptop and learn Logic, I think would be number 2.
If you could go back.
If I could go back and be like, hey, dude.
Learn how to make tracks.
Yeah, you want a G-Wagon? You want a G-Wagon, bro? Anyways.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it the hard way.
I'm doing it. No, it's all good.
I like that.
So it's, it's the thing I'm good at. And I guess we'll keep it that way. But
yeah.
But no, man, honestly, if I could go back, we could edit all of that out. This is the thing I want to say. I would have bought houses in 12 South because when I moved here in 2009, you could have got a block of houses for like what I got my house for a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That's the answer. That's easily the answer.
Buy real estate.
Buy real estate.
Buy dirt.
Buy dirt.
Well, it's never too late, but it might be. And on that note,
but it is.
All right. That's it. That's the pod. See you later. Thanks for being here, dude.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. If you want to submit a question for one of our Q&A episodes, you can do so at tenuretowne.com. We would love it if you would join the Tenuretown community, which just means we'll send you updates via email about stuff we got going on. And of course, please rate and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Wherever you listen or watch this thing, we appreciate you so much. See you next week.